have several important things to relate to you. The first off is, before I get into the heavy stuff, a matter of keeping track of what you have. Now, back in the day, medicine people would gather roots. This is actually Aurelia nudicala, wild sarsaparilla. Roots that are dried, and I don't have a label on them, but if you notice, it's tied, and I've got 3 knots on this end and 1 knot in the next. That indicates what kind of root it is. Secret stuff, because sometimes the knowledge is passed along, as I'm doing to you. Other times, the people that were involved in medicinery, wild plant medicinals, and various and sundry things, it was passed down to selected people. And so, in order to know what some things are, because this looks like a lot of other roots, you would just tie it and have a system of little knots on the ends of the string, the cordage that you would tie it with. And so that is that. Wild sarsaparilla does various things. I will let you research that yourself. Now, I've had a couple of dreams here. One is, I'm just kind of, that's going, was about a guy that was walking. And I don't know if it was me or just some walking guy that just never talked to anyone, just started off walking. Across meadows, across fields, across woods, and along the way picking up these weird little creatures that were just chattering and running around in circles and whispering things to him that weren't necessarily good, and he just picked them up and stick them in his bag. Walking along, gathering these little whisperers up. Well, he came to a spot in a vast desert where the only thing there was this dead elm tree. And so he shook the bag a little bit, and the little creatures started fighting amongst themselves and chattering and screaming and wrestling and fighting, and dumped them on the ground, and they had created so much friction that they started a fire. And as they were fighting and burning, they burned away and created all these sparks. I have a visual aid that floated up to the night sky and created stars. You fell asleep underneath the stars, and the next morning awoke to the elm tree that was once dead, was beautiful and alive. The second dream is, yes, summer is over, and I could feel it, not only in the world, you know, saying one season is bumping into the next, which is a whole other topic, but I was listening to KLT radio station, and they played Fred Bear, and so this probably cued the second dream, is that I had just a bow, no string, no shoes, and my goal was to go out and find a string, make an arrow, start a fire, and cook whatever I captured with my bow and my arrow over that fire. That's, I think, very metaphorical. Barefoot. Just a bow, which wasn't created on this journey, but I had it, this piece of wood. If I was to interpret that, I would think that, like, the bow is more than just like a tool. It's a partner. So this partnership of me and the wooden portion of the bow, strode off barefooted, had to start a fire. Now it's a rainy day here, so I thought I'd share another thing. Is suppose you have a fire, you're going out, and it's like damp. This would be a miserable day to try to, you know, start a fire with a hand drill, although it's possible. Another way to do it is just looking around in this climb cedar trees, Thuja occidentalis, which by the way contains a compound thujone. Another bit of homework for you. And so I am simulating moving a fire. And what I did was I created like a smudge stick, but also a fire carrier. And this has ground bark. Smells so good. Ground bark within this case of, with the fuzzy side of the bark, the outer bark facing inward. And I can just walk along. As long as this will burn, it burns slowly. Carry my fire with me. Aha, look at that. And you can create as many of these things as you would wish, or you can just simply snuff it out. Let's get a little fire thing going. I like little fire things. Oh, come on, you. There we go. The wonder that is birch bark. Not only does it make tea, but even if it's wet, aha, nice. I guess that's it. Off to work. I love it, the smell. In this area, by the way, as in other areas, I was talking to some people. How do you keep track of what this plant does and this plant does? Well, it helps if you name the trees as far as uses and intent, rather than like the Latin names. And that's the way a lot of indigenous peoples throughout the world would name things in some way or give them one of their names. The paper birch, also called a canoe tree if it has bark that's applicable to the construction of canoes. White ash would probably be bow tree. Say Pipasissawa, which is a native name, could have also been called urinary tract infection plant, if you get my drift. A friend of mine who was an anthropology major, actually one of my favorite employees of all time, wound up saying the name, I'm pretty sure I remember the tribe, but I'm not going to name it just in case I'm off, is that referring to the self or the tree, the name kind of means this is now a cedar tree, I am now a person, this is now a turtle, because they believe in the transcendence of the spirits throughout a range of things, kind of like reincarnation. I actually don't want to leave here, but I do. I have places to go, people to meet, stuff to do. Have a good one, everyone.